Hello everybody, Louise Eddington here of Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I'm here with the week ahead forecast. Running a little bit late again this week. Honestly, it's quite overwhelming, this energy moving into this eclipse season, and the opportunities, the book selling well, the interviews and so forth. It's just so much, but I mean it's all good, but sometimes it's hard to do it all. Plus I'm moving my website and my platform anyway, because that opportunity came up at this time. So we're going to look at the week ahead, beginning August the 31st, which is today, and running right through the end of next Saturday, which is the 6th. And then the 7th has the first eclipse. I've done a whole video on that. You can find that in my videos. But I just want to give a shout out for Dabney from Lawless Astrology. She interviewed me about my book. So on Lawless Astrology channel, you can go and find that video. And also Heather Roan Robbins from Star Codes Astrology, under her live videos, because we streamed it live, you will find an interview with her. And I have some other interviews coming up. It's amazing. This book seems to have really hit a nerve. So if you haven't bought it yet, please go buy it. Or if you have and you haven't left me a review on Amazon yet, I would really appreciate it. I've got some amazing reviews coming in, and reviews really do help the book's visibility on Amazon. Even if you didn't buy it there, you can review under the Kindle option. So the week ahead, I pulled 3 cards, and as always, we'll look at those cards in detail at the end, so stick around. So interestingly, I pulled 2 of threads, and this is the 8 of threads, and the 6 of threads. I pulled all fire cards, and even though we're starting the week with the moon in a fire sign, this is a very powerful week for creation. So fire energy is really about passion, creation, drive, will, energy, but we'll read those cards in detail at the end. Okay, so let's dive in and look at the week ahead. As usual, I'm just going to kind of start where we're at. I've mentioned it before, that the moon's nodes are at 18 degrees. I use the true calculation, which is the osculating nodes that move around quite a lot. And one of the reasons I like using the true calculation is that right through the eclipse season for weeks, the nodes sit at the same degree. And that's just a real phenomenon of the true calculation of the nodes, because the eclipses on new and full moons conjunct the nodes. So we're starting the week with the nodes sat at that 18-degree mark, where they've been for quite some time. We're starting the week with the moon in Sagittarius, which is, a fire sign, so going back to the threads. Anything else I really want to point out about where we start? You can see the mini grand trine, or people call it by other names, is very bold at the moment. The thicker the lines are of the aspects in my software shows how the aspects are the strongest. So we've got some really thick lines. You can see them all here. We've got Mercury coming up to aspect all of this party here, Eris, Chiron and Chariclo's daughter, Okiroe, in Aries. And so I'll speak to that as well. But yeah, I just want you to get a feel for how these charts work together. Then I also look at some other degrees, and we notice that Chariclo, Chiron's wife, is at 18 degrees, which is the same degree as the nodes. So whenever things aspect the nodes, they're also aspecting Chariclo. One other thing, I think, I have included a lot of these slower moving planets, because look at this, Uranus and Sedna, 1 degree, Saturn, Neptune at 0 and 1 degree, Pluto at 1 degree, how Maya at 1 degree, they are all speaking to each other right through this eclipse season. So this is where we start. Okay, so the aspects for today, which I'm a bit late with, but Mars actually earlier this morning exactly opposed Ceres in Mars sign Aries. And this oppositions kind of look at each other, and like the key is to integrate the energies. So Mars in the sign of Libra, which is justice, balance, the scales, harmony, all of those kind of things. Ceres in Mars sign Aries, which is about I am and identity. And it's also kind of the me versus the we axis. And to me, this opposition is really taking a good hard look at how we individually, Aries, are working together in relationship with people and balancing our individual needs with the needs of everybody. So that's how we started the week earlier today. Then just earlier as well this morning, asteroid Hygeia, which is holistic healing, health, hygiene, um, preventative health in many ways as well, shifted into the sign of Cancer, where this asteroid will be until next summer, when big changes are coming next summer. We're moving towards it now. And Hygeia is going to spend a long time in this sign because she will go retrograde in there. And she is part of how we heal our basis of security and moving into the self-care energy as well and protective mode. And we're birthing something new. She's part of that journey because, of course, Jupiter is also in the sign of Cancer and will be until next year as well. And then Saturn over here. Did that happen earlier? No, that's about happening right now, actually. Saturn is in square to Hygeia, right after Hygeia changes sign. And that's important because the next big shift is that Saturn is moving back into Pisces early tomorrow. So Saturn in Aries, you could say in many ways, is about building new structures, new starts. Saturn is actually at 0 degrees, which is a world point, the point of creation, the new beginnings. And this is the degree where Saturn and Neptune will be exactly conjunct next year. And this is, how are we going to build this new preventative kind of holistic health and hygiene collectively in many ways. So that square to Hygeia is happening right after Hygeia enters Cancer and right before Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces. So you're getting a glimpse of something that is being built towards the future and we're reflecting upon in many ways. Last main aspect today is that the Virgo sun over here is, and of course the eclipses are coming in Virgo and Pisces. So the Virgo sun makes an Earth trine to the cause and effect centaur Pholus in the sign of Capricorn, which is the man-made laws, the structures that we live under, all the structures. And so, this is going to take a good hard look at what we are seeing now and this ripple effect of small action rippling out, kind of like a bit like Pandora's box. So Pholus is quite active this week as well. Okay, so on to tomorrow. September the 1st. How did we get here already? Saturn re-enters Pisces and will be there till February of next year. Saturn will retrograde back to 25 degrees. It's finishing up the job that has been really working on over the last few months, but particularly around the time March and early April, when these degrees, the 25 to, well, the last 5 degrees of Pisces were really hot then. That's when we had Mercury and Venus, putting my hand up, we had Mercury and Venus retrograding from Aries into Pisces. We had the early eclipses this year. I was doing my Venus retrograde class. Many of you would have taken it, and we would have looked at that powerful energy then. Saturn is revisiting a lot of that energy and a lot of things that were beginning and birthing and changing back in March or back in earlier this year. Okay, so that's a big, we're starting to feel that now. It's revisiting some things, okay, to cleanse and let go of limiting beliefs, old structures as well, because Capricorn again is ruled by Saturn, and structures, rules, man-made rules, how they've been broken, how they've been leaked, if you like, and what can we do about this now? Okay. On September the 1st as well, Venus over here. I don't usually look at quincunxes in the week ahead forecast, but there's some really important quincunxes this week. An aspect of adjustment. Venus is in quincunx to Pholus, which the Sun just trined, and this is saying, oh, now we're seeing this cause and effect. Here's how we can create something differently, but it's uncomfortable. It's really not easy, so it's kind of forging the way ahead, if you like, but saying this, we've seen this now. We can't look away. We can change things. Late on September the 1st, the moon will enter Capricorn for a couple of days. I always talk about the lunar aspects in my daily Substack posts, which might be changing, but they're not yet. Okay, on to September the 2nd, Tuesday. We start the day with Sacred Contracts, asteroid Juno in Scorpio, which is kind of the deepest sense of stepping into personal power, but it's often by seeing the manipulation and that where you've been disempowered as well. There's been a lot of energy in Scorpio, goddess kind of energy, women energy, if you like, as well. It's kind of really kind of looking at where our power is being taken away from us, or where we've given it away and how we can take it back. But Juno will square something I forgot to add back into the charts. I'm going to add her because these energies are really strong at the minute. Asteroid Lilith, talk to the hand, Lilith, is saying, we can't do this anymore. Stop, talk to the hand. This is going to change. Okay. And my hand's up. I'll just leave it up. Okay, so another quincunx I think is important on September the 2nd is that Mercury, which slips into the sign of Virgo, but right before, at the last degree of Leo, Mercury will make a quincunx to Saturn, which has just moved back into Pisces. Another adjustment at the anaretic degree of all this information that has come to light, all this changing perceptions and shifting viewpoints and shifting voice. It's time to speak out, if you like, or to change your perceptions even more. I think we're seeing it in the world. I think people's eyes are being opened to what we couldn't see before, about how we got to where we're at now in so many ways. And now it's like going, oh, we can start to change, to do something about this. Okay, so what else on September the 2nd? 9:23 a.m. Eastern, Mercury will enter its own sign of Virgo, and will start to go under the beams of the sun, which I always think is hidden things coming to light too, especially in eclipse season. Um, you know, traditionally Mercury is supposed to be burned out when it's under the beams of the sun. I kind of think it may be a little bit burned out during it, but when we get the Cazimi, which will come up, and then when Mercury emerges from the other side, all this stuff will come flooding out. That is going to be illuminated this eclipse season. Then also September the 2nd, Venus, still in the sign of Leo, girls want to have fun, but will oppose Venus squared, I sometimes call Pallas Athena asteroid, which is the strategist. Again, it's an opposition, they will oppose each other. This is saying, okay, I'm going to take a good hard look at what we can do strategically to create the new story or write the new story of what we want to create in the world. Okay. Then lastly, the last major aspect on the 2nd is that Mercury, newly in Virgo, will sextile Hygeia. And so these are, again, all these planets changing signs. There's new beginnings coming all the time. And they keep speaking to each other and saying, okay, this is, about holistic health in many ways and about that changing perceptions. And if you remember, we just had that new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. So what intentions did you set then about coming more into wholeness in mind, body, and spirit? But also this is about kind of witch energy. Speaking of which, I'm going to do a, maybe I'm not. I was going to pull a witch tarot, a witch oracle card as well, but I don't know if I can find that deck in the mess that is my decks. Oh, there it is. I think I'm just going to pull this at this point because I just watched an amazing presentation about Virgo. Virgo really is the sign of the witch, and it's woman in total control of herself. So let me just pull you one card. It's a bit off the cuff, but why not? Let's lower my hand. This is for Mercury in Virgo. This, oh, it's so perfect. This is the Siren of Surrender. Probably can't see it too well, but because they're very shiny, these cards. And this is from the Witch Oracle deck by Angie Sullins, who's on Facebook, great artist and, well, great writer. She wrote the words, and her partner, Silas Tovar, did the artwork. So this is card number 29, I believe. Siren of Surrender, page 145. It's not a very intuitive guidebook, but that's fine. 145. And this figures as well because Saturn moving back into Pisces, the opposing sign of Virgo. But anyway, the Siren of Surrender says it's time to let go. Although underappreciated, there is power in surrender. A wise sage once advised, what we resist persists. While you may not yet see a new way to go, the old way is closed. Stop banging your head and hands on the door that refuses to open. If it doesn't open, it's not your door. This is a moment to acknowledge what isn't working and what alternatives are not yet clear, and surrender to that wide open field of unknown. A witch, woman in total control of herself, understands there will be times when further action is wasted. Exerting more effort is futile, as it's only bringing frustration and discouragement. She knows that while society would encourage her to keep pushing, applauding her as she battles and bruises her way through the path, there is a patriarchal paradigm whose time, and this is a patriarchal paradigm whose time has ended. Instead, she embraces flow, trusting when it leads her to a dead end that there is another way and it will open when it's ready. The days of white knuckle resiliency are over. Everything is happening for you, not to you. So let go of your original expectation and let yourself experience the generosity of flow. Okay, back to the charts. That card needed to be heard, I think, right? Because everything is shifting so much at the moment that there's very little control we have over many parts of this. So, surrender, surrender, surrender. Back to the astrology. And that was for this eclipse season, as Mercury has entered Virgo and is involved in these eclipses. Okay, so that was September. Okay, so on to September the 3rd after that little, little diversion. September the 3rd, Mercury will then quincunx Neptune. So another aspect of adjustment. Mercury is very strong in Virgo, even though it's under the beams of the sun. So, you know, what's being revealed to us, we make adjustments. And to my mind, this is about making adjustments about these old perspectives. In fact, you know, it could say the old perspectives of what Virgo is, because Virgo can be very much about hard work, criticism, doing the right thing, doing it the right way, whereas this is about surrendering into what is more meaningful and useful. So then the big aspect, September the 3rd, is that Mercury will square Uranus. This is awakening. This is idea. This is kind of like aha moments. They can come from outside or from internally. And this is another big perspective shifting aspect. Okay, so it's kind of like higher mind and lower mind, and these are in both Mercury guided signs, Gemini and Virgo. So perspectives are changing at a huge rate of knots in personal lives and collectively. Okay. Then Mercury as well, very busy Mercury this week, will make an aspect of opportunity to Haumea, which is creation and birthing this new paradigm that we're stepping into. And then Mercury again will square off to Sedna. So it's really all happening together, all of this. And Sedna, in many ways, is spiritual destiny through crisis. And I think you can see that we are in crisis, which really means a big crossroads. So anything that comes up for you this week is part of this big collective shift. Last main aspect for the 3rd is that Jupiter over here in Cancer reaches that 18-degree mark. So, you know, the nodes again, and Chariklo incidentally, but Jupiter will aspect the nodes. And so what's revealed and what you want to expand on around that basis of safety and security, and what you're birthing, this new way of building your own basis of security, starting with that self-care, so it's coming from the inside out. Jupiter is going to expand on that when it aspects the nodes. Okay, so here's what I found. My watch decided to talk, sorry about that. Okay, on to the 4th. September the 4th, there's a lot less aspects. September the 4th is much well, it is quieter, but the moon will move into Aquarius early on September the 4th for a couple of days. You can see that the moon and the sun are getting closer to their opposition. So we're really coming under that full moon eclipse energy as the week progresses towards the end of the week. But the only big aspect on September the 4th is that Mars hits 18 degrees as well. again, the eclipse degrees. So we've got all this energy at 18 degrees speaking to each other. And Mars squares Jupiter. And that is a big push for expansion, for taking action, for creating what we want to see in the world. Okay, and it's in cardinal signs as well. This is initiating new projects, new things, and then letting go of things that no longer work as well as what this is a big aspect. And then Mars on September the 5th, let's quickly move to September the 5th, will then earlier in the day will make an air aspect to Chariklo, spaceholder, cosmic doula, saying now is the time to start taking this action with these ideas and change perspectives that are coming through to write this new story of birthing this new way of being in these extraordinary times. And at the same time, Jupiter will quincunx Chariklo, all this at 18 degrees. Could move Mars back a little bit, but I think you get the idea, is saying, endings. 1 plus 8 is 9. So endings, but then new beginnings to create more stability, 8. And this is all about writing this new story. Honestly, I know things seem awful in the world, but we really now are entering the phase of creating this new paradigm after all this stuff is collapsing and falling apart. Okay. September the 6th, Saturday, the last day of the week, Neptune over here will square off to Hygeia, or Hygeia is the faster moving energy really, so Hygeia will square off to Neptune, and that again in cardinal signs is a creative aspect. And this is really about stepping into this more connected, interconnected, intuitive energy and blending that with that rational, right-brained energy that we have just, been under this power over paradigm of the hierarchy and the patriarchy. We're stepping into the quantum realms in so many ways. Later on September the 6th, the moon enters Pisces for a couple of days, and on the 7th we have the lunar eclipse. Again, I did a whole video on that one. But as we approach the eclipse, Venus over here will make a fiery trine to Ceres, and these two are building on March energy too. I'm not going to go back to why, but they are. And this is, saying, right, let's really start to passionately build what we create. Okay, so that's a big aspect too. And then the only other aspect at the end of the week is Mercury again. See, it's getting closer to the sun, okay, as we get into the eclipse. So again, Mercury is under the beams of the sun. So things I think are coming out from that were hidden, if only change perspectives from inside out. Mercury will make that trine to Pholus that we started in the week with the sun. So more things emerging, more cause and effect, more kind of Pandora's box kind of energy. This can be good Pandora's box energy, by the way, as well. You can kind of start to see that things that you may not have thought much of back then, little things that you did or incidents that happened in your life, now you start to see the ripple effects of how that's unfolding. I could liken it to something in my business that's been speaking to me. It's something I put out in the world a long time ago, and I just kept looking and thinking, and it wasn't ready, and it wasn't ready. And then suddenly I saw the ripple effect of all these little pieces that moved towards it, of this thing coming into my life right now as we approach the eclipse season. And it's great, it's perfect. It's a lot, but it's good. Anyway, so that's the astrology for the week. Again, another big week in these extraordinary times, but this is really building up to the actual eclipse. Everything is building towards that, and it's a week of changing perspectives primarily again, and starting to take action on um, what's changing our perspectives. So anyway, I remember I pulled 3 cards, and they were all threads cards, which is fire. One's in most tarot decks. So 2 of threads is I am adventure, and this is the unraveling. So let me read you the quotes. I always love her quotes in the book. So I had so much fire in me and so many plans. That was Claude Monet. That's me. I'm like, oh my God, all these plans. And the fire to do them all is just exploding. And then the other quote is adventure should be 80%. I think this is manageable, but it's good to have that last 20% where you're right outside your comfort zone. Still safe, but outside your comfort zone. Bear Grylls, that is. And this is the red thread of future planning. Remember, we've got that Venus opposing Pallas Athena as well in Aquarius, which is the future. This is planning. Great week for future planning. So it's about looking at. I think it's kind of about looking at this as an adventure. So one of the quote is back to the labyrinth where either we are found or lose ourselves forever. And I think you need to look back at March period for you personally about what's unraveling now, because this is where I started to use this deck in the Venus retrograde and during the last eclipses. Okay. So I'm just so it says the book, because there is an element of having to be patient here to let things unfold. Remember the surrender as well. So if your plans, anyway, it says you may be eager to get going, but nothing appears to be on solid ground yet. Wait a while, for there is more to come. You are a ball of fire and may feel this is a time for taking risks. It is said that only when we step out of our comfort zone do we truly live. This might sound scary to others, but your adventure is calling. In time, when your plans have progressed, you will step out into your future. So then I had the 8 of threads. Wow, I think I've ever pulled 3 cards from the same suit in the tarot. This is I am dynamic. This is your red thread of movement. The energy of creativity is like a fire that transforms all kinds of obstacles into opportunities for dynamic new growth and advancement. That's by Daisaku Ikea. In each moment the fire rages. It will burn away at 100 veils and carry you 1,000 steps towards your goal. That's Rumi. So you get the idea that this is about planning and threading this new story, kind of dealing with the Virgo and nuts and bolts, if you like, as well, during this period of amazing change. So anyway, but it's an exciting week. And the last card for the week is 6 of threads. This is I am achievement or recognition. Recognition is a fire. You can burn or find warmth and comfort by it. You can burn or find warmth and comfort by it. Okay. And become the person you are meant to be, light your inner fire and follow your heart's desire. This is Leon Brown. And this is the red thread of success, but there's really an element of, taking that moment, that pause, that surrender to looking at yourself and giving yourself recognition for where you're at now as you move forward and start strategizing and planning where you're going next. So this is about taking that moment to give yourself some real recognition here. Okay, so it's another big week ahead, and I've got to get off because I've got calls for the rest of the day, and it's Sunday, and I'm working weekends far more than I used to. But at the moment, it's absolutely necessary to get everything done, and it's an exciting time for me personally, and I hope it's an exciting time for you. We can really ride these waves if we listen to what the planets are saying and remember to go, to um, that message from the Witch Oracle deck.